Yeah, I always liked, I was a really competitive person, so excelling at sports was something I really liked to do. In terms of accomplishing something, when I was 12, I raced mountain bikes for quite a few years, and I actually I won the Ontario Championships, and I went to nationals out in British Columbia at Sun Peaks, and I came first at nationals. And I went to Crankworks, which is a mountain bike festival, and I came first there as well. So I definitely enjoy being competitive and racing mountain bikes and playing hockey and sports.
Man, you know what? Just growing up, it was something I was just always around. My dad was a huge sports guy. He was a huge hockey guy. Guy went to Chicago every year to watch the Bulls, the Bears, the Blackhawks, the White Sox. So, I mean, I guess it was just a sense of growing up in a sports atmosphere of a family.
Right. So, I mean, so the sort of standard stereotypical old way of thinking about concussion was that your bell was rung. It's just this little thing that happened, and because it was invisible, nobody really thought much about it. So it's like, shake it off, go, you feeling okay, good, get back on the field, right? And actually that was until fairly recently, that's sort of the dominant way of thinking of things. Obviously there's been some high profile cases. I think Sid Crosby was probably the one who sort of brought the issue really to light, but even before that you had all the NFL issues in the US and the football. And so in the past, it's been huge. The past couple of years has been huge. But really the past 5 years or so, people are starting to realize, you know what, there's actually something going on in the brain more than just a simple, not just getting bonked on the outside of your head, there's something going on the inside.
Yeah, so playing hockey and lacrosse, I definitely, looking back, I've probably hit my head quite a few times where I did have concussions, but back then it wasn't so looked upon as a concussion. It was something that you would just kind of shake off. And there was one particular time, and I think it was about Adam, or maybe it might have been Pee Wee, and I just kind of fell into the boards, but yeah, I was like knocked out and I couldn't really skate, and I kind of got up and stumbled, and fell down. So I think that was probably my first major concussion. But tubing as well and water sports, just being outside, your head, I definitely just got banged around a bit. So I think that might have been my first concussion where people would have recognized it.
Say radio news.
The Raptors, they look to bounce back after losing to the Detroit Pistons last night. They take on the Chicago Bulls at the Air Canada Centre. Tip-off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, Brittany, 54% of Canadian voters are in favor of the government supporting in the fight against ISIS. With more on that and many other controversial topics, we're joined by the panel. The worst one was actually grade 10 varsity soccer. All right, picture this. I'm this 5'7" center back. I have no business being a center back, first of all. I mean, I'm the shortest kid on the team, and I'm playing against these strikers who are decent players. They're 6'5", 6'7", so these guys already have almost a foot on me in height. So I'm defending one of the strikers in one of our biggest games of the year. We were actually playing Glendale High School. They were the #1 team in our division at the time. The corner kick came up. I jumped up to head the ball, and next thing I know, I'm waking up in the 18-yard box. I was told that I took a head to the side of my head, so I guess it hit me in the temple somewhere. I'm not too sure. Last thing I actually remembered was being at the center line. I have no recollection of anything that happened prior to actually being hit. But yeah, that was the first time where I really thought something might have been really wrong with me.
Oh yeah, well there was the day after my grade 12 last exam. I was playing lacrosse, and I was on defense, and I was playing my position, and I was looking at the ball, and I turned my head to look at my man, and he just cross-checked me in the head, and I didn't really recognize that I had concussion. I just saw stars, but I think the adrenaline kind of kept me going, and so I finished the game. I didn't think anything of it, and then I woke up like 2 days later, and I was kind of like a mashed potato, I guess you would say. Everything was kind of, yeah, I just had a concussion, and I was kind of in denial about it for about my first month. I tried to just it's summertime. I just finished high school, so I was pretty excited for summer. And yeah, I kind of ignored it. I went out to BC and I went downhilling, which was probably not something that you would do if you had a concussion. And I was drinking and I was just kind of enjoying life. But I was also supposed to go to flight school in the following September, and I couldn't go to that because of my concussion. So it was, that was definitely my largest concussion.
And people's reactions can really vary. And so now people are realizing, this is actually a brain injury. And so the use of the term, instead of concussion, mild traumatic brain injury, I think that's starting to help bring awareness to the fact that it really is the brain making contact with the inside of the skull. That I think there's some myths out there, and they're slowly starting to get shed. Like, you don't actually have to hit something. Your head doesn't have to actually hit something to be a concussion. You can shoulder to shoulder can cause a concussion. It's just there has to be enough acceleration in your head that the brain hits the inside.
I got into a flight school in Florida. It was through a program with Air Georgian, and they sent down 10 candidates. So I went through about 3 tests, and I had to do like an interview. And it took a while. I had to write a big essay and send it in to why I should, have the opportunity. And so I went down and I finished all the testing and I got accepted. So it would have been pretty neat. It was about a 9-month program. And I would be, looking back, I would have a job right now. I'd be flying if I had gone down there. So, but that's okay. I'm going to school now. So up in North Bay. So that's okay.
Yeah, you know what? Believe it or not, I'm trying to think. Okay, yeah, it was my neurologist that actually. He told me to second guess what I was doing. And that was probably the most discouraging, because this is a guy whose professionalism is dealing with these head injuries and the problems that prolong with them. And obviously when a neurologist tells you maybe that's not the line of work for you, because you might not be able to remember the scripts, you might not be able to portray yourself as well on TV because things in your head, paranoia, anxiety, things like that, things that have struck me when I was dealing with what I was dealing with. I was in a dark hole pretty much, and my neurologist pretty much just told me to cancel everything out and just, I don't know, told me to take time, decide what I wanted to do, told me to take time off the gym, told me to take time off of writing, take time off of doing really anything. So it was kind of hard, it was kind of a blow, but sports was my life. Sports was the one thing I've always wanted to do. So I thought, you know what? I want to prove this guy wrong. I want to show him that I can get out there. I can make the best of this horrible hand of cards that I've been dealt with. And I'm here. I've made it. I'm doing what I'm doing and I love it. I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, I don't know, because before ever having a serious concussion, I always kind of didn't really believe in it. I don't know. It's kind of a concussion. To understand what a concussion is, you kind of almost have to experience it, because it really it changes who you are as a person, for sure.
We're getting there. I think it's still, amongst the athletes themselves, it's still evolving. So for the first time, it was 2 years ago, we had athletes come. We do baselines on them. So we make them all go through something. And those are the scores that if they ever do get an injury, they have to compare it to that score to see if they're better or worse. And so for years, when we know this is happening, they sabotage it. They know, if I do really bad on this baseline, if I get injured, even if I'm doing poorly, they won't think I'll be able to go back sooner. And just past a couple of years ago, we've started to see athletes come back saying, you know what? I actually didn't do I think I'd like to retake my baseline. They're starting to take it seriously. And I think that's where not just the coaches and the parents who are starting to become more aware, but it's the athletes themselves that have to realize, oh gosh, all I want to do is play, but wait a sec, I got one brain, it's got to last me.
I do plan on going out for the school field lacrosse team next year. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm not 100% set on it yet, and I know my parents probably wouldn't be too happy about that.
I was about to say, what are your parents' thoughts on you getting back into playing lacrosse? I don't know. We'll see. I do plan on playing lacrosse this coming fall. So
it's a little stressful to me as a scientist, because basically the biggest risk for getting a concussion is having had a concussion. So you're more likely to get one, and if you do get another one, the symptoms tend to be longer and worse.
Take exactly what my neurologist said, and I'm going to use it to my advantage. I will never play contact sports again. It's just not worth it. The hell that I had to go through was not worth it. I wish that I had somebody to talk to when I was going through this. I was raised in a tough family, so I just thought, you know what? I'll just suck it up and do it on my own. Horrible decision. I mean, I am where I am now, but that's because I've had the love of friends. I've had the love of my family there to support me, even though I haven't had that professional to go talk to. I would say to anybody who is dealing with a concussion or is thinking about going back to sports prematurely, not knowing what could actually happen, think about it. See somebody, talk to somebody, because going back too early, it's only going to be negative for you, and it's not worth it in the end. So please, please, please talk to somebody about your head injury.
I think that the highest point would probably be when I started going to school again, only because it kind of got me back into a routine where I didn't have to think that, when I took a year off, like, it didn't feel like I was going backwards, but I'm the kind of person that always needs to be doing something. And as fun as traveling was, I think that getting back into school and getting in a routine of things would probably equal out to be my highest point, because you kind of begin to feel, like you're not suffering from a concussion again. So I think that would be my highest point. Yeah, no, it would definitely be my parents, of course. It would be my parents, and yeah, they were just super understanding of everything. And yeah, without them, I couldn't really have done, challenged the concussion the way I did. So yeah, definitely my parents.